Hello, welcome to Northwest Connection. My name's Trelv.
And I'm Hanny.
Today we're joined by a band known for their atmospheric heaviness, intricate songwriting and emotionally charged performances. The latest release, If Your Roots Run Deep, You Cannot Fear the Wind, shakes the foundations of the UK metal landscape. We're on to sit down with Pleiades. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
You all right?
Yeah, would you like to introduce yourselves?
So I'm Andy.
I'm Ryan.
And usually a four-piece?
We're a five-piece now.
Would you like to name the other members? Or
So we've got OJ on drums, Josh on bass, and then another Andy P on guitar.
And Ryan plays guitar?
Yeah, I play guitar,
Andy,
yeah.
You're just on vocals, aren't you? And how did you come together as a band?
So we started off early, sort of 20, I think. So me and Ryan aren't actually original members. They started off as an instrumental band, hence the name was meant to be like a big sort of expansive post-rock, space-driven, I guess, project. And then they decided they wanted vocals, found me on Gumtree, of all places. And
Not had that before.
yeah, that's my origin story. So it's technically still my first ever band.
Right, okay.
And then me and Ryan used to work together in a bar in Manchester called Trough, and I invited him, and he accepted. And then since then, it's been a pretty solid.
It's been a long time. They've like started in sort of 2016 sort of time.
Oh, right, okay.
So there's been a few different like iterations of members and stuff, I guess. But it seems like the last sort of 6 years or so, I guess, we've like turned into the Pleiades that it's kind of.
And is that when you two joined? Was it sort of like the 6 years ago?
I was 20, maybe 2017, 2018. I started demoing with them, kind of on and off. And then Ryan maybe like a year later.
About a year later.
Yeah, and then we put out an EP called All at Your Mercy in 2018. 2018, 2019. Yeah, we're not a new band anymore, which is quite weird to say when we're like, 8 years in and you're kind of, you're coming up to a 10 years in air quotes the industry. You look at yourself very differently, but yeah, this lineup is very much like the core hub, and like I feel like if anyone was to leave now, it'd be quite hard to replace the kind of synergy we've got. It feels quite a unique setup.
And did you write to the original material they had, or did you start fresh when you joined as a vocalist?
So when I joined as a vocalist, we then put out our first piece of music. I think what they were doing originally was sort of demo instrumentals, and nothing really took off from that. And then I found them really, and then we put together the first EP, which we don't really not associate with, but it's not very.
Yeah.
It doesn't really.
It
doesn't match
fit with the
us
band
anymore.
really.
Really.
Sounds evolved.
Yeah, so All at Your Mercy was the first EP I would say that is for this current lineup, and it was kind of a bit more of a post-metal driven sound with a sort of sprinklings of what we do now, but there's a little bit more uncertainty back then about in terms of like confidence, and now we're, we don't really play any of that material, unfortunately, unless there's going to be a massive rush for it, but I'm still waiting on the email, but we'll see.
And you're based in Manchester?
Yeah, all based in Manchester, all based probably within like 20 minutes of each other, which is pretty handy for rehearsal.
None of us are actually from Manchester.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So like, drummer and bassist are from Stockport. That's just outside.
Yeah.
Andy's from Lancaster. I'm from York, and then other Andrew's from Coventry.
So that's where the postcodes comes in on the new
Yeah.
EP.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all ties together.
Yeah.
That's been I've been pushing that hard. I was like, we're going to do a postcodes when we're going to play all the hometowns. It's going to be great. And it has been. It's been all right, actually.
Nice. And what are your musical backgrounds for both of you?
Mine is none. This is my musical background. So I joined
Which
this
is quite
band.
unusual, isn't it?
Do you know what? I think this is going to sound really, really corny, but I made a video about it recently. I put it on my personal Instagram. It's been like 10 years since I had the idea that I could maybe be in a band. I had no training, no family connection to music in any way. It was just kind of based on like an instinct that I wanted to try it before I got too much older. So yeah, to be sort of looking back 10 years and how it's kind of formed, I can see it as quite a unique story.
Yeah, because most people say it to like family influences or
you've been in bands since high school and stuff
Yeah,
like that. I
that's
know
it.
you've been in a couple of bands.
Yeah, to be fair, about my sort of like musical background is that typical like played in bands at school, then into college, and then got into the recording side of it, which is the same for the rest of them. And it always been in bands and play guitar, and then I guess background for me is I went into like the production side of it, stopped playing in bands, went more like electronic music kind of route, and then came full circle back to kind of what I was brought up on in heavy music, I guess. So
Rock and roll, man.
yeah. I'm gonna put little quips in after everything I say.
We just ad-lib now.
Yeah.
And was that part of moving to Manchester was a potential as well, being immersed in, where there is a really big scene in Manchester. When you look at like the alternative music scene there, you've got, there's a hardcore scene, there's a metal scene, there's pretty much a scene for everything. So I would imagine being in a place like Manchester give you that opportunity to
100%. Yeah, absolutely. It's like there's so many venues as well. I think it's a big thing because, like I said, I'm from York, studied in Leeds, and Leeds is like, great for, it's got a mint music scene. Or it did at that time when I was there for, alt rock bands, I guess, or like the hardcore stuff, like you said. And it was like, but then just wanted something bigger, and Manchester had that appeal, from going to gigs in Manchester and that kind of thing, and then yeah.
And it is, it's one of the places we have to travel to a lot from around here. Yeah. It's Manchester's the only place you can get to, really, unless it is some of the smaller bands you might come through every now and again.
Yeah, same for me. Like probably similar to Wigan. Like Lancaster has really no music scene. It's starting to get one. Like I'm going to put on the Lancaster show from the EP, and I'm working with like the Rock and Metal Society from the uni, who are trying to bring metal bands through, which is kind of really nice to see, but it is hard work getting that stuff off the ground. I can imagine Wigan has a similar issue with just trying to find that spark of interest in music to kind of get a scene ignited a bit.
And to be honest, we're in a worse position anyway, because we're not from Wigan. We're actually in between Wigan and Liverpool, so we're in like a little town from in between Wigan and Liverpool, so we get both ends of it. There's nothing in Wigan. Liverpool is out the way for most people. It's not directly off a motorway, so you've got to make an effort to get there. And Lancaster's, I suppose, a little bit the same. Whilst you've got to go past it to, get to Scotland, or to come past, it's sort of off the beaten track, isn't it? A little bit.
It's not known for kind of like, it has. I know there's one band from Lancaster who are massive wagons, who are, they're kind of in a more, like Rival Sons, classic rock kind of area, but they're huge. But in terms of like the kind of, the uglier side of music, that's kind of like the scenes that we all enjoy, the kind of the post-metal, the post-rock and the post-hardcore. It's really hard to pluck the bands. They either go into like a kind of alt-rock direction or indie rock, but none of them find enough of a home to actually create a scene with, which is kind of like why I moved to Manchester. It's that next big city where there's so much going on. It's really hard. Everywhere you turn, there's a venue. Everywhere you turn, there's a new band popping up who's taking your interest.
Yeah, definitely. So you just sort of said then about post-rock, post-metal. Is that where you find most of your influences are as a band?
I don't know. I think for me personally, like Glassjaw's my big influence.
Right. Okay.
I think for me, if I had to pick one band, one CD to pull out the burning building, it's Worship and Tribute, really. And I think we fell into post-rock and post-metal mainly because we didn't fit in the kind of classic post-hardcore category. We had too much of the post-rock, too much post-metal, so we've kind of been this anomaly in this scene. We don't properly fit sweetly there, but a lot of our fans appreciate what we do. They are getting what we do, and I feel like the longer we develop our sound, it's going to click with more and more people. I think we're just trying to find that new spark in either scene.
Yeah, no, and you can hear the sort of post-hardcore influence in the vocals especially on the new EP, I'd say.
Yeah.
You can really hear that sort of Greg Palumbo, Gino Moreno
well,
style thing.
And I'll take that all day. That's I'll be dreaming of that when I get in. But yeah, I think for me, like Daryl Palumbo and like Jason from Let Live in that era of post-hardcore, like, and even Refused as well. Like they for me they're the pillars of great post-hardcore music. So I kind of feel like I'd take what they've done and put it into, I guess, like a post-rock box a little bit with the atmosphere and the kind of some of the crescendo stuff, and it feels unique. I feel like it's got some developing to do, which we're excited to see where it goes, which is kind of like what keeps us, makes us feel like we have like a really strong momentum right now.
I feel like we chat about it quite a lot as well, of like what is, there's so many terms for things and labels, and it's like what is post-hardcore, what's in that? And we've got to a point now where we're like, because we've been writing together for a while, you can get in a room and instantly whether it fits with what we see, the genre as, and without a name, whatever, it kind of fits with what we're writing. I think
post-hardcore is probably the most expansive as well. The amount of bands who get thrown in as post-hardcore because they maybe had a Bad Brains t-shirt on it.
Exactly.
I think post-metal and like post-rock, it's a bit, you know, they're a bit more structured, aren't they? You know, post rock tends to be a lot of instrumental stuff,
Yeah.
a bit more uplifting. Post metal, you know, you've got the usually long drawn out slow parts with some sort of heavy
8-minute songs.
yeah, 8, 9, 10 minute songs,
Yeah.
growling vocals, and that's your post rock. But then post hardcore, you know, it can be a bit deceiving at times. The amount of times you'll read about a post hardcore band, listen to it and go, really? You know,
does this fit? Or
yeah,
We spoke about on the way in, didn't we? About like, because we're not young. We're we're sort of in our 30s now, and there are bands coming through in their late teens, early 20s, and their version of post hardcore is very different to ours.
Yeah.
And their version, we would probably look at and go, God, that's alt rock to us.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
probably looking at bands, I guess, like Title Fight and Basement, and for me, that feels like more alternative rock.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
They're like, that's post hardcore to me, and I'm like, But then I say what post hardcore is, and there's someone going, no, that's Poison the Well to those guys. So, it's generational. I
Yeah.
think it's coming in different waves, and the word, like you said, is so expansive. It's the more bands it kind of swallows up. It is a good thing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's they're open to the term, and it keeps us relevant as well.
Yeah, no,
So
definitely.
thinking back to your youth, was there a specific band that got you into the metal genre that sparked, that ignited it for you?
It was the good old days of the music video channel. Scuzz probably would have been a band like Rise Against for me. That 2005 for me is one of the best years. Or 2005, 2006. Those couple of years were two of the best years for music for me. Like Suffering the Witness came out, and like seeing Ready to Fall on Scuzz, and it was like quite distressing images of animals being cut up and trees being felled in forests and stuff. And I was like, this is meaningful music, and it pushed me from then to start listening to bands like Glassjaw, Dillinger Escape Plan, from like compilation CDs and the front like rock sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rabbit hole it became infinite for me from that. I don't know about.
Yeah, I guess it's a similar, like, I guess that era, bands like Alexis on Fire and stuff like that, and always listening to that as a sort of, teenager, I suppose, and being like, I want to be in a band like that. It was, an influence in that way rather than like a musical side from growing up on classic rock and going to hardcore shows as a kid and that. I think it was getting to like Alexis on Fire and, hearing Converge for the first time and being like, I'd love to be in a band like that. Do you know what I mean? That's
Converge was too scary.
Yeah.
I remember hearing it and going like, nah, I'm gonna listen to Jane Doe, and I think it was the song Thor, and I was like, nah, my brain's not ready for this kind of aggression.
There is pictures of Converge playing in Wigan from like 98, 99. There was a hotel up the road, and if you go on like certain social media websites, you will find some on these post-hardcore sites and all that 80s, 90s. There's pictures of Converge in the back garden in this hotel playing an all-day punk festival in Wigan.
That's class.
That's the only claim. That and Green Day played in Wigan in the 90s.
Yes.
That's the only claim to fame they've really got, isn't
I'd
it?
love to see that.
I'm probably going to get
poster.
into trouble for saying that, like. But
Yeah. I feel like that's going to be one of them gigs as well, where there's 4,000 people there, and it's like a 200 cap venue. So everyone was like, "No, I was there, man. I was there."
Yeah,
we
everyone
were
was
definitely there. Yeah.
I do know one person was there because I've seen him on the picture. So
Right, yeah.
he definitely was there.
Yeah, it's legitimized. Like, yeah, nice.
So with the scene now that you're in, is there specific bands that you feel a kinship to that you gig with a lot, or?
Yeah, there are a few that I consider very important to us. Like Hidden Mothers are the big one. I think for me, I can't speak highly enough about them. Really, like what they've helped me personally with in terms of like the advice in organisation of a band as well. I think people really don't see the work that goes in behind the scenes to keep momentum going, to stay active, and obviously in an age where attention spans are at an all-time low, the way that they engage with the people that love their music is organic, and it's really inspiring to see. And I've always found that, like, for me, they've been a tremendous blueprint of how to run a band as a business, but also make it feel organic and make it feel genuine.
Yeah.
And Dinner Celestial Birds as well. They're like through and through post-rock. They've just played in China in a post-rock festival, and I feel like their momentum and their potential could take them all over the world for that kind of like true pure form of post-rock, the kind of stuff that's kind of like would put them on a festival with like, I don't know, like a Mono or a Pelican and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're probably going to play in the US in the next couple of years. I just think they're just that good.
Yeah, they are. That album they released was really good as well.
Yeah, we've played them a few times. a 100-year-old man as well. They've been good friends of ours. One of the guys, David, lives in Manchester. Watching him perform live at Arctangent, he's just like one of the best screamers, one of the best singers. The way he conducts himself on stage, he smells fantastic as well. Yeah, he looks great on stage, which is important, unfortunately. And yeah, we're surrounded by really great bands. And I think regardless of how different our music is in terms of we may be a bit lighter or a bit more aggressive than some others, we've got a good community and we feel like we have a home with these bands.
And you've pointed out 3 bands there as well who are really, different in each way. But each one of them's also got somebody who's really vocal on social medias and the different group chats and all. You see Andy from Dinner Celestial Birds. He's over everything. He's always bigging up something. Yeah, he's everywhere. Liam's the same from Hidden Mothers. He's over everything as well. So
putting in the graft.
Yeah, they really do put in the graft.
People don't, they don't
it's
see it all
job,
the time.
It's
a full-time job, and
unfortunately,
I find it hard sometimes to step away. And I see Liam, he's like in the damnation forums all the time. He's always like, he's always shouting about his band. And like sometimes, some people are going to find it spammy or annoying or whatever, but, tough. It's not for them, clearly.
It's genuine as well. It's like you said, you said about being active in the forums and pushing their own band. It's because they actually really care about getting the stuff out there and wanting
and
people
the
scene, wanting people to be involved with it.
I think it was through a Hidden Mothers post that I first heard about Pleiades anyway, and that sort of triggered me then to go and have a listen to another Manchester band within the scene.
For sure. I mean, I did guest vocals on their album, and like they were very, very keen for me to be on it, and I was like, all it's done has helped us really. Like it's got us, in front of so many more people. Like Death Curl, when they recorded it with Joe Clayton in Manchester, who's our local producer, which is just, a blessing, really. Like I went in and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna put you as the featured artist, but as the band," and what that's done for us has put us through, puts us onto so many new people who maybe not paying attention to the playlist, and then we come on and it's like, these guys, I'll keep listening. So just little things like that, and like they go so far in like, helping us in times when they probably didn't need to.
Yeah.
So going on to your songwriting, how does a typical track come about? Does it start with a riff, or is it lyrics first?
I think it's probably the best ways. I feel it start with Ryan, who kind of is very, very good at building like a skeleton in a demo. He'll program the drums. We have an amazing drummer, but if we want to get the drums down there and then to fit the guitars that Ryan's doing, he's great at really building that picture quite quickly. And I think all our best tracks have probably started with you.
Thanks, man. What am I going to say to that?
Love you, man.
Thanks, mate.
So you just give it a basic drum track and then
of course. It's you say like if it comes to a riff or something like that, it's always guitar ideas for me.
Right. Yeah.
I'll sit and like, I guess we're going back to that post-rock thing, even though we're not a post-rock band. I'll sit and lay guitars, in a door or whatever forever.
I'm not listening.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just sit and lay guitars, for hours on end, and then eventually something comes out of it. But a lot of them sort of ideas will be formed in a rehearsal space. So, we'll get together like, I understand now why Andy's like putting it on me tracking stuff, because he hates sitting in the room when we're all jamming. Don't hate it, obviously.
Do you know how many voice notes? I've got like 1,000 voice notes of like 8-second recordings that go nowhere. But then, 1 out of 10 or 20 becomes like a 2 or 3 minute demo that then gets put in the group chat, and then he goes away and squirrels away and comes up with a demo, and then, it's
distilling the ideas, I think. It's like, because we could sit and jam, you play music really, so you can, be in a room and jam with someone and something clicks, and it's them little magic moments. It's like, it's distilling them ideas, going away from that, writing tracks out of it, building, making parts fit rather than like, jamming them all together, which is something we've learned.
Does that mean you have gigs and gigs of unused stuff?
Oh yeah. Don't worry, we've got a bank.
Not just us.
Yeah. It's quite interesting, to be fair. So we're in like a writing stage at the minute. We've sort of taken a bit of a break and like gone back over the Google Drive and it's like finding old stuff and being like, what is that? Why did we never do anything with that? Or like, how can we bring that back? And
like an old version of the song that it became, but is unrecognizable to the finished product. I think what we want to do is just build on that bank and be able to have like a cutting room floor and be like, that's not going in, but this is, and not feel like every idea has to go into the finished product now. Like we've got the freedom now, having some material out that people can just enjoy and not feel like they're waiting on that next one. So we could just be like, oh no, that's not Pleiades, that one. That could maybe go into something else. But then 6 months later, Ryan might find it in a hard drive and it becomes core to whatever we do next. Who knows?
I think lyrics writing though, like you know, it's all majority is you, sort of ideas wise or concept wise or whatever with the songwriting stuff. So it's like with the latest EP, it was like how much of it needs to fit. We can't just like we've maybe been guilty of like getting to the writing tracks, being happy and then being like, okay, lyrics go with this on top of this rather than being a part of it. And it was like sort of having a realization after we'd put some older stuff out, being like, why have we done it that way? It doesn't really make sense, or it's like it doesn't really fit, or cause I think we'd probably all go back and rewrite bits of old stuff. But it's like involving the lyrics at such an early stage and having, Andy's great at, like I said, coming up with a concept for themes or like the storytelling kind of thing, or how do we make this atmospheric, lyrical kind of like content fit in with a track that maybe isn't that. It's like, less shoehorn, more let's make it all fit.
Yeah, I used to be really guilty of like getting really precious over certain lyrics or like kind of the ideas of like, oh, this has to be about this kind of thing. And I think that's just been one of the bit of a learning curve for me. Is I've watched and listened to other artists say when they're building songs, it's about melody. It's about almost like building like a primitive melody with no actual words attached, but just kind of like almost just like jazz scatting over. Yeah. And I feel like that makes the melody central to it rather than like I'm desperate to fit this particular sentence and too many ands, that's, a's and and whatever, and just try and let the melody be core to it rather than me just like I love a concept. Right, I'm guilty of it, but
nothing wrong with that.
The songwriting has to come first.
Yeah,
I feel, and that's where when you get to the finished product, it feels fully fleshed out and fully realised. Instead of like that part was great, but we had to make it work with this other part for whatever reason, lyrically or.
It's with drums as well, though. So we were saying about like sort of like programming drums there. There'll be a lot of times where I'll like come up with an idea and I have it so like this is the way it sounds to me in my head or whatever, but then show the part to OJ without drums and it's completely different. Do you know what I mean? But it's got that personality where it's like that makes more sense than what I was doing. We're just like
and literally one fill that the drummer does can take you off in a different direction again, can't it? As soon as like you'll have another idea then for a different riff or a different section.
And I'd never want to stifle that. Obviously, I didn't want to write a part for someone else or. That goes for all of us. You never want to write. You with Josh doing so Josh is an amazing singer, and that's something that and like melody writer, and that's something that he was like hiding almost. And it gets to the point where it's like Andy's working with him on stuff, but it's rather than go with an idea, it's like what would you do with this? Like
it's nice to get that different level of understanding from someone else, because when you're so borderline obsessed with a song or an idea and you're trying to work out different variations, literally always the best way is just to offload it to Josh, who has a completely fresh perspective on the song and breathes new life into it for me. I don't want to get to a point where I dislike the memory of writing any of our songs. So to have someone like Josh who's annoyingly talented and being able to like just come up with a singing melody on the spot in something that would take me 15, 16 tries.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's told us now, because it's going to save me a lot of time, a lot of headaches. So
the album's coming a bit quicker than the EP.
Yeah, there'll be not waiting another 2 years, unfortunately.
So I'm guessing that the songs are finished before you get in the studio. Then they're all.
Majority are. Yeah. There's I feel like there's always bits where you go in and listen to stuff in a different environment where you're like, what are we doing there? It just doesn't make sense. So,
you want to leave room for spontaneity as well. Like Joe Clayton from Pine, who's recorded all of our stuff really, we enjoy when he kind of has his input. You know, he's not a hands-off producer. He's very much like central to the process. So to having someone like him, you know, with his, especially like Mastermind of Pine as well, it's great to have that extra set of eyes on it, isn't it?
You've answered my question before I was going to ask, because I was going to ask what's the process like working with somebody like Joe, because he is quite synonymous within the metal scene. You know, he's worked with like yourselves, Hidden Mothers, Mastiff, you know, obviously
like
Pine.
Bosk as well.
Yeah, and Bosk, you know.
We're keen to get him on, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's somebody I'd like to get in there, because I mean, everything he touches just seems to be fantastic.
I'll give him a message.
You know, everything he's doing with Floodlit Records as well now at the moment seems to be going down really well.
I think he's we're very fortunate to have him on our doorstep, and like you said, the Floodlit stuff as well. He's putting out great bands. There's a new band coming out right now called Wildernesses.
Yeah, I've had a little listen to
I
that
was
song.
speaking to them the other day, and it's like a hallmark of like excellence.
Yeah.
If you know Joe's willing to put his label on it, still as well. Another amazing band. But yeah, just having him as such an easygoing guy as well. Like he is our mate as well, which is, and he lives like round the corner from me and you, and you know, to have him just be able to confidently say that doesn't work, rather than like
I'll be like, I'm just going to sit there, and he goes, what are we doing here? What's going on? And it's like, we know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I think it's we've been really lucky in being able to like learn the sort of, you know, we've all come from places where we've recorded in studios before or whatever. We've been really lucky in like learning professionally of how a studio session should work, and you know, making sure you have everything ready to go into the studio. Like you said, you know, we've got demo tracks, we've done a pre-production day, that's like ready to go. Click tracks are good, like blah blah blah. Like you're so like ingrained in the process now. It's like it just works. And if maybe someone else was to come into it, they'd be like, well, like slow down here. What's going on? Let's all of them, you know, I need to, you know, get up to scratch with what's going on, or. So yeah, and obviously, you know, from like a recording perspective and like a tone perspective, and the gear he's got, and you know, the methods of recording and stuff, like it's amazing how it all just comes together so quickly. Like going in, like you get to the end of however many, you know, like 5 days in there, sort of split up or whatever, and he's like, right, I'm going to mix it, and obviously there's bits, but you're listening to like it's come together so like nicely in this package where the mixing work is. I'm not going to say there's no mixing work, because you know Joe's amazing at what he does, but it's like it's all ready to go. Like the sound is there, you know, the energy's there and everything. So, yeah.
Do you have specific roles beyond your instruments within the band?
Specific
like your
roles?
Yeah, like your artwork or your.
Well,
social media
Ryan is you do the stock room, don't you? You do merch.
Yeah,
you do
yeah.
admin.
The treasurer.
Accountant, treasurer, the Bank of Pleiades runs through Ryan Noble. Yeah, all the kind of admin you're really good at as well. Andy, he's kind of taken on more of the social, the ads, the advertising in terms of like the meta, the data, let's say. And then I'm just kind of like, you know, I'm on social media 24/7 basically, just pimping us out to whoever's running it, which is a blessing and a curse. I do enjoy it. I probably could do with maybe being better at stepping back every now and again, but you know, you're looking for like the next connection or the next opportunity to kind of talk to someone who's on the same level. And to be honest, I've met so many bands through that method, and so many of them are so receptive, and they just want to talk about your music and you know, talk about their own, and you have a great conversation. And that's, to be honest, how I've met some of our best friends in music, through that way. And it's just now we're finding our roles. Our level of delegation is much better. Everyone's finding their strengths outside of the instrument, because we would all love to just play the instrument and pay every bill known to man. But unfortunately, the world doesn't work that way. So I don't want, say, TikTok to be the reason that Pleiades doesn't get to where it should be. So I kind of want to leave no stone unturned. Yeah. In the big world of social media.
So we played a lot of live shows. What's been your favourite so far?
I think Arctangent, like, it has to be. Yeah, especially, It's like, you know, when I joined the band, maybe like a couple of years after being in the band, it was like, that was like, you know, top of the list, ready to take off, and then it, you know, just happened.
Yeah. I mean, I caught you at Arctangent last year, and I'd listened to the album and thought I enjoyed the album, but then seeing you live was something different. The energy you brought to the stage there, you know, it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, was it?
Yeah, I think
It was early. It was the first day. It was still sunny. I remember the fact that it was still warm
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
But you know, you really brought an extra energy to the tent, and I came away and I was really, really impressed by it. And so much so, I was looking for Seek Kindness and couldn't find it, and it was frustrating me then because that really stuck out in my head from the set of the intro,
Yeah.
watching you bounce around the stage, giving it your all to it as well. And then I couldn't find that song until earlier this year.
End of the year.
But no,
EP came out,
when the EP
Yeah,
come out.
sorry about that.
No,
Intentional.
It was worth the wait.
Yeah,
So,
Arctangent was just one of those things that when we started, we had Strange Forms, Portals, and Arctangent as kind of like a bingo card of stuff we wanted, and to get all of it in the same year was insane, really. And I think being around Arctangent was I was just as energetic as I was on stage.
Yeah.
And actually being on stage at Arctangent was seeing people in the front row who we knew. Hidden Mothers were in the front row. A band called Lure In were in the front row from Manchester. And people who'd seen us like from all over the country were in the front row, and you just felt like these people really get it.
Yeah.
And that's still quite a strange thing to kind of get your head around, is these people actually get your music in a way which you do when you listen to like your favourite band. And so I'm still coming to terms with that, but to do that at Arctangent and just see the size of the tent, the first time I spoke on stage and getting a response, I just like, yeah, it was
Mind blowing.
yeah, still.
Because it wasn't exactly like you had one of the smaller tents either. You were on Yokai as well, which is like the second stage. So.
Second stage technically. So yeah, it was really cool, and we would love to be back at some point, but to have it in the bank is just like, it's really like, it's just a great thing to look at every now and again. Look at the pictures and just remember it. Really, like we enjoyed like a couple of days after, because was it the first day? Second?
No, so we went down on the Wednesday. We were first thing on the Thursday.
Yeah.
So you'd seen bands in that tent on the Thursday night.
And so
Yeah.
Watching from afar is like one of my favourite bands. Like, I guess you were saying before about like formative bands, like seeing them, and then they played obviously the headline that night, and then the next band on that stage was us in the morning.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh god.
Yeah, technically we followed.
Yeah.
So watching from afar.
Yeah.
If you get
That's
rid
the
of
claim.
if you get rid of time,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was great as well. We've been first on. There was like no one in the tent, no one really in the arena.
Yeah.
So we'd gone in, driven
Sound
over,
check.
got sound checked, got set up and all that. Gone back like it was like I need to have a beer or what was like a tequila, like calm the nerves. You know what I mean? Everyone was a little bit, but it's that pent up energy.
Yeah.
And then you walk back out, and it was like the tent was like nigh on full, and we were like, right,
pacing
now we've got to.
I think that's one of the things with Arctangent though as well. I think everyone gets a decent crowd. I mean, you look back at the year before when Hidden Mothers played on the small stage, and they opened the small stage and it was rammed. Yourselves when you went in there. I think every time I've been in, every tent, there's always a rake of people in there just trying to cheer bands on, just going to enjoy music, looking for that next band that they want to enjoy.
There was, I think, before we went on stage, I remember so clearly the guy coming to me, he was doing stage, and he was like, "You're on in 1 minute," and then it was like, "You're on in 30 seconds," "You're on in 10 seconds," and like we just had like, I was chatting to like the guys in Underdark because they were sort of setting up just before us. Lovely people as well, and then like the Arm & Ra guys were pulling up on their trucks and stuff like that, and I was like, Colin from Arm & Ra got Underdark there. I'm about to go on stage, Arctangent in like 10 seconds. So I tried really hard just to be present in that moment. It was
quite a lineup on that stage that year, last year as well. Because obviously, say you had Arm & Ra, but you also had Red Fang.
Yeah.
You had was Conan the same day as well, wasn't it?
Conan was the same day, same
Underdark.
stage.
It was
tagging him and everything. So like Red Fang, Conan. We're the same guys. But yeah, when Arm & Ra, one of my favourite bands as well. I think no one does atmosphere like they do. So to be on the same stage as them, it makes you feel like you've arrived a little bit. Like, and I said to a couple of guys after, I was like, if Pleiades ended the day after Arctangent, I could be nothing but proud. Really.
No, definitely.
But it's not, Price.
What about Manchester venues? What's any of those stick out in your mind?
One for me was really important just after lockdown. Was it after lockdown, Deaf Institute? Yeah, just after lockdown, we supported Hawthorne Heights, of all bands. We were first on at Deaf Institute, it was packed. And yeah, it was a very strange sort of sensation to have a full room at Deaf Institute. Deaf Institute's quite an established classic venue almost, and I felt like it was that time when we'd gone from like the smaller venues, which were still more than happy to play when we have no reservations about it, but you've gone to that next stage of venue where it was a decent crowd, the sound was amazing, the room looks great as well. So that Deaf Institute show supporting Hawthorne Heights will always be like one of my personal landmark shows, I'd say. What about you, Manchester?
I love playing Gulliver's. You know, like Gulliver's and the castle over the road there. Like, it's such
a venue I've only ever been to once, to be honest. I've seen Slow Crush there about 5 or 6 years ago. But I mean, I agree with you. Deaf Institute is up there as one of the best Manchester venues. I just love the aesthetic in there.
You're the same, aren't you, Liv? Deaf Institute.
We did Rebellion last year, like a tapestry promotion show. Who put us on that Hawthorne Heights show, and Rebellion's like a next stage. We'd like to be playing there a little bit more regularly. I know they have a lot more metal and hardcore, but I think with Manchester, unless we're putting on our own show, we're looking forward to see if we can sort of grab those bigger stages.
Definitely.
But
have you had any gig disasters?
Your first gig is quite a tale, isn't it? I don't know if you want to.
I don't want to talk about it.
It's that bad.
Not over it yet, no.
I'll give you the short. Yeah. Right, it was at the Pint Pot in Salford, which we played and we love to play. It was your first show, so obviously the nerves were a jangling. And then I can't remember who was it. Was it a post rock show?
Yeah, it was like post rock, post metal.
Yeah, it's post rock, post metal show. Other Andy's guitar string snap or it broke. We had to get the spare one, which was like a flying V, which we try and tell him not to bring. If I'm honest, it was just one of them. It was just one after the other. I think my mic had come out, and we were still kind of new, so it could have been one of them shows that kind of could have put us off playing music forever. That was pretty disastrous.
I think because so much went wrong though, we was like, we've got it all out the way early doors. Like,
definitely.
Need to check that. Set us up.
The
What else? Well, we played we did like the album tour, played in Edinburgh, and the last night in Edinburgh we got 2 songs in, and an amp blew, and it just blew the entire power.
Wow!
So like the whole backline power.
We
were like, it was mint. Like the staff were great. They were just like on it straight away, which makes me think maybe it's something that's happened before. But
we played one of our tracks, Trapping Bits a cappella, just me screaming in the drums. So we kept in time and we wrote it out. So that was like, in terms of like disaster, like I'll take that all day if that's going to be one. Apart from that, we've been pretty lucky though. I feel like we've not had any
stackers, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, our guitarist has fallen off stage a few times. He is. I love him, Andy Packwood. He is 6'4".
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, he's NBA. Let's say. But yeah, he's taken a tumble off stage a couple of times, which happens. But he manages to save his guitar every single time, which is a brand new PRS. So he cradles it like a baby.
I was going to say, I can understand why.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Yeah.
But other than that, I'd say other than that, we've had a few disasters, but I think we've ridden them out. I'm pretty
cool. Have you got any dream venues you'd love to play? Anywhere in the world?
What's that one in? There's an American one. It's like built into like a cliff face.
Oh, Red Rock.
Red Rock.
Yeah.
We get that a lot.
Always think of that one. I know it's probably
so iconic, isn't it? Like you're looking at it.
I think I've watched videos of Deftones playing there. In terms of dream ones in this country, anyone big Manchester ones? I mean, obviously you've got like the academies. I think to get to that stage would be great. But less about the venue, more about how it feels to be that kind of established, I guess. But I don't know. Would you want to play anywhere like a football stadium?
I mean, yeah, that'd be great. I don't know to get to the point to be able to sell enough tickets for that. I think that's more enticing.
Maybe York's football stadium.
Yeah, York's. Well, I know it's the new ground, though, isn't it?
The new ground, yeah.
Does that not count then if it's the new ground?
Nah, it's got
my team are just going through all that at the moment as well. So, we're giving up one ground and going to a new one. But I don't think it's quite the same as York's.
No, York's, a lot smaller, a lot less kind of heritage involved in that, I think. Yeah, I don't know, like venues. I guess like there's London venues, like the Roundhouse or something like that.
Yeah, Alexandra Palace.
Or the Ali Palace or something like that. Like it just feels like a big step, and it's so much has been through there. To be able to say that you've played would be great. I guess.
That venue that Deftones playing in Halifax looks sick, doesn't it?
Peace
Is it the
Hall.
Peace Hall,
I've never
yeah.
been there yet.
I've
so
never been, but it looks awesome.
I think one thing I really want to play is I think we could do well is like if we played like a church venue.
it's Albert Hall sitting there waiting for
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's true. Yeah.
yeah, there's probably a few empty churches you could do with a crowd or two. I'm sure I could.
Yeah, in fact, there's one local, hasn't it? Where did we go last week? It's on outskirts of Manchester, but they've now decided to. let
Is it
out for
Salford
gigs.
one?
No, it's Tilsley.
Oh right, nice.
Yeah, decided
Hit 'em
to.
up.
Yeah, the sound was.
Either that or see what you can do
It
with
was
the
awesome.
postcode tour. See if
Yeah.
you can get
Yeah.
your own-
Yeah, it was a strange thing to. It was a great idea, the postcode thing, and I feel like I probably didn't think it out too clearly. I think it was like, right, we can do an each hometown, it'd be easy. And the hardest one to win is Coventry. It took me forever to get, but we finally got the postcode show down. So yeah, I think we'll do Coventry. And we got Lancaster, and then if the postcode thing becomes a thing, who knows? Venues start reaching out to me and be like, "Want to do another postcode show?" I'll be like, "Yeah."
So going back to that EP, did you write a specific number of tracks for that, or were the tracks that didn't make the cut?
We were aiming to do it, so there was the number of tracks as the
Right.
number of sort of postcodes,
Yeah.
but there was a few extra bits, and he was like, right, do we split out because Josh and OJ are from two different parts of Stockport? They were like,
Oh, right, okay.
technically we could get two tracks out of this, so yeah, there's a few things that have sort of like are still lingering around, which don't have a postcode attached to them and may become new songs. So sounds cryptic. It's not that cryptic, I promise. But
Right, we're on to the fun questions now. So, what song is your guilty pleasure? You have to be truthful as well.
What's it called now? It's something by Megan Thee Stallion. My girlfriend listens to it, and it's a lot of.
That's a cop
Megan
out.
Thee
You can't
Stallion.
say you go.
yeah,
I think
passing the blame there,
I think
isn't
it's
he? Like, come on,
Megan
man.
Thee Stallion
Own it.
with Courtney from Spirit Box. I think it's called Cobra. I have a feeling.
Everyone's at a loss. Do you know that one?
I don't
No.
know that one.
It's
We'll stick it on them.
We're too metal for that.
Yeah.
well, it's got
I
Courtney
would-
from Spirit Box. It's kind of
I
metal.
wouldn't go down that route. I'm not. I'll quite happily listen to some Lady
No,
Gaga
we
at
know.
some point.
I don't know, guilty pleasure. Pressure's on.
We like putting the pressure on.
I'd say Hall and Oates as well, but I'm not ashamed.
Yeah, there's no guilt.
Do you do the dance though from the Mighty Boosh at the same time, Bob Fossil dance?
Always, yeah. Always. Girlfriend's banned me from
Yeah.
doing it.
And that's why you can't go for that.
If you could only listen to one album for the rest of your life, what would it be? And it can't be greatest hits.
I've given mine away. Worship and Tribute, Glassjaw, all day.
It's probably at the minute I think it'd be "Colour Me in Kindness" by Basement. Like,
All right, yeah.
Nice.
just because it was one of the, we were saying about earlier
Yeah.
bands before, and like I went to see them loads like around that time, and
It's been a bit quiet, haven't they, recently?
yeah, they just announced the tour. I think they've been touring America.
Do you
They
remember
were
seeing
away.
Basement? It's supported Frank Carter. They were amazing. Maybe
Good.
buying the vinyl anyway.
Yeah. They're great. Yeah, maybe that at the minute. I guess it goes through different periods of what I'd listen to. But yeah.
Did you listen to any non-metal music?
All notes.
Oh no.
Not too much. I do like some rap like JPEG Mafia, Denzel Curry. The kind of stuff that would probably go down well at Outbreak.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, I'm pretty.
There is that crossover, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm pretty wired into whatever music we're making. The kind of like the music parallel to that. I try and keep.
Was
it
there
core.
anything new this year that's really piqued your interest in terms of new albums?
New Deaf Heaven, obviously.
Keeps coming up.
Yeah.
Been probably going to be one of my albums of the year. A great band that you've had on before, Kusanagi's new album, Paramnesia.
Yeah.
I've been listening to that a lot. It's like it reminds me of 65 Days of Static, you know, like that
Yeah.
kind of like No Man's Sky,
Yeah.
kind of video game-esque, kind of go. But yeah, that's class. But you?
I don't know. To be fair, I get a lot because you do writing reviews all the time. I get a lot of stuff through you. So I don't know what's top of the list at the minute. I've got nothing off the top of my head. I'm so sorry.
What 3 songs do you always go back to?
Of ours or?
No.
Oh, right, I see. So I listen to a lot of Me Without You. So they have a song called Blue Hen, which is one of my favourite songs of all time. Strange enough, I've been listening to a lot of Cannibal Corpse as well. So I showed Ryan a bit of that today. So I've listened to a lot of As Deep As the Knife Will Go. It's one of their more PG songs. And again, Glassjaw's Tip Your Bartender, first track off the album.
Nice.
It's a great song.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of tracks that we built a playlist for, like when we're driving, to and from shows, or whatever. So I'm trying to think of the tracks that I'm like always going for on that. At the minute, what is it? Holy Diver is in there a lot.
The original.
The original Holy Diver.
original.
Yeah. For whatever reason, that is like, in the top 3. Probably something by Killswitch Engage. Just because that's like
You got to have the anthemic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I want to sing along and pretend like I've got that kind of
It's usually
vocal
my
range.
curse. It's something from As Daylight Dies. I
Yeah.
put that on front to back. You can't really go wrong.
I don't know. Go to
You listened to Your Demise today on the way
was
in,
listening to
actually,
Your Demise,
which is a classic.
or something like Youngest Daughter by Super Heaven. Like, love Super Heaven. That's a track.
I do on TikTok.
I know. I hate that. That's the way people are learning about it now. But yeah, that's one that I'll always go to. So
I think you've answered this already, but are there any up and coming bands that should be on people's radars? Or you'd like to shout out?
Obviously, let's start Hidden Mothers. Number 1. Number 2, Dinner Celestial Birds. And number 3, let's shout out
lure in, always lure in.
Lure In all
They're
day.
great. They're so good.
Yeah, best band in Manchester.
Some quick fire questions. Vinyl or streaming?
Vinyl.
Streaming.
You said quickfire, but I'll
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
caveat this with Andy's only
That's right,
just.
last week it went on from.
Oh really?
I only just got rid of my iPod. I've just got Apple Music for the first time, so I'm just joined streaming. It's all brand new information to me.
It's the hip new thing, man. It's a hip new thing.
Absolutely.
I tend to find I go on streaming and then go straight out and buy vinyl with it, which my wife hates.
Yeah.
I've not got a vinyl player yet, so I'm yet to indulge.
You don't
in
need one,
vinyl
man.
addiction.
You don't need one. Just having it.
That's how it starts.
Yeah.
Then you've got to get something to test.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the best amp and the best. Yeah.
Night gigs or daytime festivals?
Do you know what? Daytime festivals, in brackets, matinee shows. Make them a thing.
Yeah.
People listen to metal and rock. They want to be in bed by 8 o'clock. They want to listen to metal at 4:30 in the afternoon, not 11:30 at night.
And you can get the last train home.
Last train home, and you're in bed before the 10 o'clock
Do
news.
you think that's an age thing though as well? Obviously, we've already touched on the fact that we're all
100%
post 30, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, is it just the case of,
Maybe
I can go and have
monsters
a
that
couple
we
of
need.
drinks
Yeah.
and go out for it and get up for work the next day?
Absolutely, yeah. I've been to festivals before. I've missed bands because I've got to get the tram.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's logistical problems for having daytime shows all the time. But in an ideal world, I'd love all gigs to finish at 8.
I think it's nighttime shows. I feel like if everyone's been out and they're there later on for that, they've had a couple more beers or whatever, it's such a better environment to play in.
Ryan's a young man.
I don't know.
Bacon frazzles or onion rings?
Frazzles.
Onion rings.
It's a proper split. Iced coffee or hot coffee?
Hot coffee all day.
And my favourite question: mystery meat milkshake or meat feast pizza with a toothpaste sauce?
Milkshakes, get it over with. Milkshake, get it over with.
I've got meat feast. I think I could see past it.
Ryan's a young, foolish man.
Well, thanks for coming down. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having us, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much for having
Just
us.
before we sign off, is there anything that you want to let the listeners know about what you've got coming up, or is it just in the practice room writing at the moment for you guys?
Well, anyone in the Coventry area, come and see us June 21st. We're playing with Body Crisis and Wolves. Other than that, we're going to be writing, so just keep listening to the EP. If your roots run deep, you can't fear the wind.
And yeah, later in the year we're playing inside a brewery in Leeds for like a dark and sour beer festival with Dinner of Celestial Birds and Baal and
Mastiff.
Wow, that's some
Cold
lineup.
Speak,
Yeah.
and Iron Rat. So
Wow.
put on by Adam from Barbarian Helmet. So check them out.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Thanks for coming down.
Nice
Cheers,
one.
guys.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Cheers.